Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Oh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central. Round the Hay Bale Unscripted is brought to you by, with gardening season at an end, Cayce certified organic products are still what your soil needs.
From overwintering fruit trees to preparing your soil for spring, Cayce calcium-based fertilizer gives the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Cayce to agricultural soils and water has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Cayce can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they are fed plants grown using Cayce in both soil and water.
To check out all of Cayce's organic products, visit cayce.com and use the promo code HAYBALE for 10% off your purchase.
Grab a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Anne from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are, unscripted. Hey, y'all. Hey!
Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome back to yet another episode of Round the Hay Bale Season 4 Unscripted. We're so glad that you're back with us. Let's start with our intros. I'm Alicia from Country Mama Musings.
And I'm Anne from Andale Homestead.
Hello, ladies and listeners. It's Cayce from Ormsby Farm.
And I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Welcome back to the podcast. This is going to be a fun one for sure. I think today we're talking about holiday season. It's that time of year, and we all have a Santa's wish list here. We're going to be talking about all of the must-have items we're adding to our wish list, along with maybe what to get your favorite homesteader for Christmas. So let's see. We've got our homesteading Christmas. Alicia, do you want to start this off with a round robin game?
I will, because you know we all love playing round robin here on Round the Hay Bale.
We
thought it would be great if all of the co-hosts put together a list for you of things that they wished they had when they first started homesteading, something that they would still like to have now that they're in the midst of their homesteading, and things that if they have a friend that is in homesteading, maybe they would like to give them as a gift. So what we're going to be talking about today, everything that we share with you is something that could either be for yourself or something that you can gift to someone who you know is going to be getting into homesteading. So hopefully we all came up with some really great ideas and that you like them. So
yes, Alicia, also, we want to mention that happy Cyber Monday to those that are listening.
Oh,
because that's when the deals are. And we will have a really easy way for you to get what you hear us talk about today on the podcast. All you have to do is go to our link tree, and you know that's always in our show notes below, and then it will take you over and you will see something that says Alicia's wish list, Anne's wish list, Cayce's wish list, and Monica's wish list. If you click on that, all of our recommendations will be in there. We are Amazon associate, so we do make a small commission, and we really appreciate y'all supporting the podcast by clicking and purchasing from there. So, Alicia, back to you over in Iowa land.
Yeah, well, you know, I wanted to share with everyone who's listening, when they click on our links and go to our storefronts to purchase these as associates, it doesn't cost them any more. It doesn't cost them 1 penny more to do this, and it does help the podcast. So we would really appreciate it if you would show us a little bit of love and go to our links and do your Christmas shopping there, because it does help those who are in the podcast. So I'm going to start, and I want to share with everybody that I put my list together with the thought of thinking outside the box. What would my co-hosts not put on their list? Because we don't want to double up on you guys. So the first thing on our little round robin that I want to share with you is something that has been on my personal wish list for a few months now, and I haven't gotten it for myself yet, but I'm hoping that maybe Santa will put it under the tree this year. What I want is something that is going to help me with the canning in my pantry. And, when you can something, what I traditionally do is I just get out the old marker and I mark on the lid what it is and when I put it up, and then I put it on the shelf. And sometimes I've had those disposable labels, the ones that wash off, the dissolvable ones, and I can label that way. But what I really truly want in my heart of hearts is a Nimbot label maker machine. It's a vintage little machine. It looks like a little old vintage handheld adding machine from like back in the 60s. And it fits in your hand. It's mint green. It is so adorable. And you put in the information and it prints out these beautiful little labels. And they're decorative, they're beautiful, they're round, they'll fit right on the top or on the side of your canning jar. And the thing is let's say that I decide to can up 20 cans of dill pickles, which we all know that I've got a thing about pickles. They're triggering for me. But let's say I did 20 cans of dill pickle chips, hamburger chips. I only have to enter it in there once, and then I can say, print 20 labels, and it's going to print out these 20 perfect little labels of everything about what I got in those jars, what's going up on the shelf. Even better, if I decide to make some of my meals in a jar, which Cayce and I are on this big trip right now, about all our meals in the jar, you can print.
Yes, we are.
Oh, Cayce, just wait. You can put on there what your meal is. So let's say that the meal in a jar is beef stew, but then you can print out on the same label your instructions on how to make it. Instead of writing it out, instead of trying to remember, it's all printed on one beautiful little label that will say beef stew, contents of jar plus 2 cups of hot water or however you're going to have it. And it's going to print up and it's going to go on top of your jar or on the side, depending on how you store things in your pantry. And I just love this little label maker. And when you buy it, it comes with a roll of labels already. Now you can get different labels to go with it, but then you can get replacement labels as well. And I do have a label machine, the one that just does the tiny little strips with words. And I do a lot of labeling here on the homestead. But these are the actual labels. And, you can even print them with barcodes if you want to. There's all kinds of things you can do with these labels. So that is my number one choice on my Christmas list is the Nimbot label maker machine with the tape. It's the B21 model. And I just love that it's B21 vintage. It says vintage right there in the name of it. And it says that it comes with business thermal labels. It's a price and shipping label tag writer as well for home office organization. That is the first thing that I really, really want. It retails for $65.99. So that's why it's not under my tree yet, but it is going to be there soon. But I think it's worth it because by the time you buy all the things to label your food properly,
right?
I don't know about you guys, but I've got so much in my pantry that just going through everything to try to find what I want these labels. I think it's going to make my life so much easier.
Well, y'all know I'm bougie, and even though I do write with a Sharpie on the top of my canning lids. But how beautiful would it be to have it neat and organized with a sticker that you put on? I think
you customize it. You can customize it with little filigree around the edges, and it makes it homey and beautiful.
That's awesome.
So bad.
I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one, friend. I'm going to toot your horn on that one. Toot, toot.
Toot, toot. Thank you. Miss Ann, you're up next for our round robin for our holiday Christmas wish list. What do you have to share with us?
Well, I was looking through my wish list because, as I come across things on Amazon, I do just slip them over there on my wish list because that's what we're all doing most of the time is wishing, right? And I came across, I don't have a rice cooker. I would really like to have a rice cooker. When I just cooked rice the other day, it bubbles out and over the side of your pan and pours all over the top of your stove. And I now have a glass top stove, so it sticks on the burner and all these kinds of things. I thought, man, I really would like a rice cooker. And I found one that is the Aroma Housewares 6 cup of cooked rice, which we're not going to need 6 cups of rice. And you can put 3 cups of uncooked rice in there. And it is on Amazon. Aroma, very simple. It's an easy thing. It's not terribly expensive, less than $20 today. Who knows what it's going to be actually this day on Cyber Monday. It could be a discount from there. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to check that out just as soon as we get off of here and see if there's a discount on there. But yeah, we eat quite a bit of rice, and in hard times on the homestead, most of my pantry is kind of based around, for an emergency, adding rice or beans. And so I think that having a rice maker would certainly be a wonderful thing. So, Cayce, what do you have on your list, honey?
Well, I have to say that rice cooker is an amazing little tool to have. I mean, it's so kind of nifty. It saves a lot of the manual labor, I guess you could call it, on making certain things. We have
Yeah.
another kind of tool that I'm sure all four of us are going to talk about at some point in this podcast. But rice cookers are so easy because it's kind of like a put rice, water, close, press start, bam, you have rice. So that's a good one. But for my number one, what I'm saying here is if you want to be on Cayce's happy, good list, not the naughty list, I really want some canning jars. Become my friend and bring me canning jars off of
There you go.
Amazon because a homesteader can never have enough canning jars. And on
That's
my
right.
list, I put quart, pint, and half pint. I like to have backup of all of those. I know half gallon is pretty hard to find, but I do like the half gallon ones too, unless you go over and quote unquote borrow one from Monica over at Bland's Promised Land Ranch because she has a ton of them. But I would say jars. And there are a lot of, listen, I've done the ball jars. I've done the cur. Is that how you say it? Cur? Is that how you pronounce it right? Is the cur? And
Mhm.
then there's the knockoff ones that don't
Yes.
have any name brand on them. They all work the same, y'all. Now, don't get me started on the lids because we'll come back to that. But just regular canning jars, the cheap ones with nothing on the side but smooth, work just as well. Stock you up some or buy a good homesteading friend a dozen canning jars. You will be friends for life.
There you
So,
go.
speaking of friends for life, Monica, what about you on yours?
Okay, since we're dealing with kitchen stuff, I feel like we're stuck in the kitchen right now, so I'm going to go ahead and go with one of my kitchen
We
picks.
are. We're in the kitchen.
And there's those jars, I call them the old jars. That's the generic form of the ball jars. No, I use all kinds of canning jars, so I am judgy on that one. So if we're gonna go with kitchen supplies, I feel like if we're going, I'm gonna go big, and I'm gonna say that every homestead kitchen needs to have something similar or a KitchenAid stand mixer. I am a firm believer of a KitchenAid.
Correct.
I was gifted. Now, when I got married pretty young, and we didn't have a lot of things that were ours. I didn't buy a lot of things when we got married. We were gifted a lot of things. We were like the hand-me-down family. And honestly, I'm going to be real honest. I am okay with that.
Me
And
too.
so so my Eric's grandmother and his aunt, they lived together, and his grandmother moved in with his aunt when she was a little bit older and his grandfather had passed away. And so when she moved into there, we had just gotten married, and they were getting rid of some things that they didn't need anymore because they had duplicates. And one of the things that Aunt Gail had done, his aunt, was she's like, well, we have Mom's KitchenAid. Monica, do you want a KitchenAid? And I was like, do I want a KitchenAid? What is a KitchenAid? She was like,
Right.
it's like a big mixer. And I'm like, yeah, I do. First of all, I was like, free, I'll take it. I don't even know if I'll use it. But let me
Right.
just tell you, this KitchenAid I've had this KitchenAid for 20 some years now, and I absolutely love it. It is old as dirt, but it works great. And I don't use it a lot because it's heavy and it's hard for me to get down, and I don't have a lot of counter space. But when I do use it, one, it brings back memories, but two, it's awesome. It is awesome. It is so good to have. And they're so helpful, especially if you're making dough. If you're using, I use it all the time. Before, when I lived in Maryland, I always had it on my counter because I had space for it. And I used to use it every single time I was making icing for my kids' birthdays, because it makes the best whipped topping. Like if you're making the cream cheese frosting, like any of the frostings or whatever, I make all kinds of like, what's it called? The Wilton buttercream. So I always make buttercream frosting for these really decorative cakes, and I'd make these really big, elaborate decorative cakes. And so the Wilton frosting, perfect for the buttercream with those, with that particular thing. So the KitchenAid is what I'm going to go with, because I feel like it's really helpful. And you need to make sure you have a dough mixer, a dough hook, right? And the paddle. I'm a firm believer in the paddle and the dough hook. So what do you add in, Cayce? It looks like you're excited about something.
Well, I love my KitchenAid.
The whisk, yeah.
That's my best friend, is my KitchenAid, and mine's an older one as well. I was gifted by one of our neighbors, or one of our dear friends. Has since passed, but gave me his. But did y'all know that with the whisk on your KitchenAid, if you put 3 whole chicken breasts in there, turn your KitchenAid on with a whisk, it will shred your chicken in literally 3 minutes. It is the easiest, best knockoff way to shred chicken. I just thought I would throw that in there, since
I use a hand mixer.
Yes,
I just take a hand mixer and put it in my Instant Pot because it's metal. You can't use it in your ceramic. If you use it in your ceramic crock pot, you're going to ruin your ceramic lining in the crock pot. But you'll scratch it. But if you use it in your Instant Pot, which I have quite a few, you put the hand mixer in there like a charm. That's the only way
Well, see, I was forking it.
And we did
for a while.
Ground beef.
It's so easy. It is so easy.
No,
it's so
it's
simple.
awesome.
The reason to have your KitchenAid, you can do cakes, you can do breads, you can shred chicken, you can shred meats. I make homemade eggnog in the KitchenAid.
Butter, you can make whipped cream.
Yes. Ice cream, homemade ice cream. There's a lot of things such as eggnog I'll use, since we're in the holiday season, that takes a lot of finesse on how you pour and how much you pour, and you have to continually mix it. Having something, whether it's a knockoff KitchenAid or whatever it is very useful to have in the kitchen. That's a good one, Monica. Toot, 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 toot.
Whoop, whoop. Okay, so what's another thing that's on your wish list, Alicia?
Well, I wanted to say these things that we're sharing with our listeners, I think it's important, because it was just brought up, even if it's a knockoff. But, I really do want to say you get what you pay for. And some of these things, it's worth it to get the ones that are tried and true. KitchenAid is a very good brand. It's going to last you forever. So, if you can't afford one, that's fine. But know that if you're able to get the brands that we're recommending, there's a reason why we're recommending them. They're ones that we've tried. They're ones that we know have a good history. It's worth the money to just maybe take that little step up and get that. So having said that, my next item, I'm staying in the kitchen, is, something that I did not have for a long, long time, and I still don't have one of these, is, I love to make my own artisan bread here on the farm. I have a 3-ingredient recipe that I love baking my bread, but I usually bake it out in my sun oven. I did do a video where I showed baking it in a turkey roaster, and I used our big, huge, heavy cast iron Dutch oven. But I don't have a Dutch oven for my everyday use here in the kitchen. And I think everybody who is, whether you're a newlywed, whether you're, if you're going to be buying something for someone who's getting married and you want to get them a gift that's going to last them for their marriage, or if you're getting somebody who's starting out in homesteading and you want to get them something for their homestead that is going to be used, it's not going to end up just, somewhere in the closet because it's one of those weird gifts. Look at, it's true. You want something that's going to be used.
Okay, I need to change my next item because it's a weird.
Don't do that. Don't do that. The next on my wish list is a Lodge 6-quart enamel cast iron Dutch oven with a lid.
Yeah.
The lid is oven safe. It's the knob on it.
Yes, that's a good
So
one.
you can use it not only on the stove, but you can use it in the oven. And it's got really great handles, and you could use it to bake your bread in. And I'm telling you, for me, now Casey's our bread baker, but for me, I love making my round loaves of artisan bread. I love making it in a Dutch oven. But you can make your chilies and your soups. You can do all kinds of things in a Dutch oven. They're
Yeah.
so versatile, and they're going to last the test of time. So I have this beautiful, and the one that I have on my wish list, you can get it in all kinds of different beautiful baked enamel colors. So you can pick one for either your colors of your kitchen, or like I said, if it's a young couple that's starting their life out and they're getting married and you want to get one, find out what their colors are. I'm telling you, you cannot go wrong with a Dutch oven. I just had the opportunity to go out and visit with my family in California, and I taught my 12-year-old granddaughter how to bake this artisan bread. And we bought her a Dutch oven. So it's her Dutch oven. And when she marries and leaves home to start her family, she will have the Dutch oven that her grandma bought her when she taught her how to bake bread.
How
So
sweet.
yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think every family should have a really nice quality Dutch oven that you can pass on from generation to generation.
Yeah.
Lodge has been around for quite some time. They have good quality products. And so I highly recommend this Lodge 6-quart enamel cast iron Dutch oven. And you have to have a lid if you're going to bake my bread.
That's right.
So, Miss Ann, what's next on your list?
Well, I love that idea. Actually, I love your idea better than my idea now.
It's
It's
not a
because
competition.
mine would be the weird gift. But when I think of homesteading and being prepared and trying to be more self sufficient, and I think in our area, when my brain goes to preparing, it immediately goes to hurricanes and emergencies and things when the current is out and when I'm going to have to cook on the grill or cook outside of some sort, or potentially we use our wood stove during the winter anyway, but to be able to start that. And I don't have a decent, um, it is a ferro rod, a decent flint rod to be able to use. I do buy lighters just about every time I go to the store, and we do have matches and we have all kinds of things, but I don't have a decent one. I have a small one that I'm not coordinated enough to get the sparks from when you're pushing down. And this is a very nice one. And it's from the Prepared D4X. Prepared 4X store. It's a fire starter survival tool, all in one flint and steel rod starter kit. And this ferro rod starter with 36-inch waterproof tender wick rope. It has rope that goes down through the back of the scratchy part that you put the post on. And so the sparks automatically go onto a rope that will start a fire. And it's replaceable. You don't really have to have that rope, but it's kind of cool that it comes with it.
Well, if somebody who's putting their homestead together and they're in that mode of being prepared for the what ifs, it is important to have a way to start fire. If
It
you're
is.
in a situation where maybe you do have all of those little lighters that you buy, thinking that you're going to have what you need when you're prepared, if you don't have them stocked everywhere, have them in one place, but have something like this rod, like you're speaking of, in
Right.
another place, like out of the home in an outbuilding. Because if your home's destroyed and you're having to go to an outbuilding or to
Right.
an outlying area of your property, you're going to want to start a fire there, and it's going to be good to have
That's
access
right.
to something like that. And that's something a lot of people don't think of. Is everybody thinks it's easy to start a fire,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it does
it's
take
not.
work, and it's good to have that in your toolbox or
It
something
is.
like this. That's a good
Thank you.
wish list item.
Good. Now I feel better about it. It's all weather resistant too, though, and it is larger. With the arthritis in my hands, I have a hard time with the short little teeny ones. But this is longer and easier to start a fire with. So, yep, the fire starter survival tool from Prepared 4X store.
I love it. Casey?
Well, see, now we're on the prepping. We're guiding more towards prepping. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking as everyone's talking, all right, what is your off-grid prepping kind of thing? I will say this is real bougie of me, y'all, and we'll probably get some comments. But when if a tornado was to hit or storm that knocks everything out, I want to make sure that I have my soda stream so that I can have, as Miss Andale calls it, her protein drink, which
Yeah.
is going to be your soda that gets you through it. And the soda stream is off grid. Me and Monica both have one. It is off grid and you don't need to plug it in. All you need is your CO2 tank. And I will say that I stock up multiple CO2 tanks just to get me through the year. But you buy all the different flavors, and in my list there'll be all the different flavors. Like y'all know, I have fabulous internet over here, so I can't really look physically at my list in the studio. But one that I really enjoy is a zero sugar, zero carb pink grapefruit flavoring for a water. It is really, really
Okay.
good. It's really nice to have that, like a bubbly grapefruit soda, whether it's during the summer and you're sitting out on your southern giant front porch, or to add as a mixer for your adult beverage of choice. Um, and we've said it on other podcasts, but if you're, we're getting close to New Year's too. And if you're stuck on your homestead and don't have any bubbly for your New Year's celebration, you can bubble up some one apple juice and make some sparkling apple juice on there. Or you can go Ormsby Farm style and get some really cheap Chardonnay and bubble that up, and you have sparkling wine. So, pinky
Oh,
up. I choose Soda Stream. I think it's just wonderful. There's a lot of different flavors. Y'all check it out. So that would be mine. Monica, fellow Soda Streamer, what is yours?
Okay, so I have kids and we like to do different things when it comes to holidays. And I always try to think of really interesting things for my kids when it comes to holiday gifting. So I'm going to go that direction. And I think that every homestead should have something to keep your mind busy, something to keep your hands busy, whether you're doing knitting or crocheting or whatever. And so one of the things on my homestead holiday wish list would be a wood carving kit. A few years ago, we bought my son a wood carving kit. I think it was 2 years ago. He might have been 11 at the time. He's 13 now. And he make sure you get the gloves, the gloves to protect your hands. This one in particular, I believe, comes with a glove. And it's in my wish list. It's actually the one that I purchased for my son a couple years ago. And it is a 22-piece wood carving kit. It even comes with some wood to whittle. And, Eric's grandfather, he used to whittle wood. And we have recently uncovered some really amazing VHS tapes that were changed to some, we have some beautiful, video footage that we've now transferred from VHS to digital. And we were watching just a few weeks ago, and the pieces of wood that he carved, the things that he did, to look at my 13-year-old and my 15-year-old and look at all my boys and show them, this is what your great grandfather did. He took a piece of wood from his homestead, his property in West Virginia, and he, with his bare hands, at 92 years old still, he was whittling. He took his knives and he carved and he whittled and he made so many things. I think the one thing that was the most amazing thing that I loved the most was he made he made all kinds of stuff, but he made a wagon that didn't have any nails or screws or anything in it. It was all wood pieces, and you could take it apart and put it back together. And every piece was wood. He carved every single piece of this wagon. He didn't just make one, he made several. You could take the entire thing apart and put it back together. And on the video, we saw him showing that. He made a dancing man that had a little piece of metal coming out his back, and you would tap the little man on the wood and he would dance. He made chains, like literally chains that looked like it was one solid piece of wood, never used glue. And to see that was family history. And then to watch my kids get a wood whittling set, a wood carving set, it was just really cool for them to see that and say, oh, I have stuff that I can do.
Yeah.
And one of my 9-year-old right now, he's in, we do a homeschool co-op. And one of the things that he's in class now is wood carving. And so at 9 years old, he's making his own walking stick. And a walking stick is very helpful, very handy when you're on Homestead. And
Yes.
he's able to carve and design his walking stick to be unique to him
That's
at 9 years
so
old.
cool. That's so cool.
And I just think that it's a fun gift. It is really thoughtful. And it's one of those things that it's handy to have on the homestead because you never know when you're going to need these pieces of equipment, even if you're in a bind. But this is such a fun thing to have and to keep your mind and your hands busy if you maybe don't have power or if you just want to get back to the basics and turn the TV and the electronics off for a hot minute. And so, yeah, a wood carving set that is in my wish list. It was already there kind of before this episode, but I definitely added it to my homestead holiday because it's one of my favorites for the kids.
I think that's wonderful.
It is
And
great.
it is true. On the homestead, you do have to find things to keep you occupied
Yeah.
and, exercise your mind, especially during those downtimes. I'm going back into the kitchen. And I'm going back into the kitchen for our listeners because I know that we have on our Facebook page, we have a lot of people that are saying, I want to get out there, get my raw land, build my little cabin, get started. And, this is something that I think would be very good. Now, if it's not necessarily an off-grid thing, but, when you're starting in a tiny home or starting out in this new homestead lifestyle, there's this one piece of equipment that I have in my kitchen that I swore I would never own. Because I would go visit my aunt when I was a little girl, and she always had this rolling cart that had a turkey roaster on top of it. And I thought it was such an old lady thing to just have that weird turkey roaster sitting in the corner. You would open the doors, and in the doors she would have canned goods stored. But she always had this old turkey roaster. I swore I'd never have one. Well, now here we are in this 20-year-old farmhouse, and we redesigned a new kitchen. And in this new kitchen, I do not have a traditional oven. I do not have a traditional stove.
Oh.
I do have just a tiny little convection oven that sits on the countertop. But I invested in a really nice turkey roaster because when I found out everything you can do with a turkey roaster,
Oh my goodness.
I was just amazed.
So true. So true.
It's true. I
it's
thought you
amazing.
only bring it out once a year and throw a turkey in it.
Right.
That's not true. You know what? When you are doing your canning season and you get all of those tomatoes ready, you dump all your tomatoes and peppers and onions in there and you just cook them up, and then you take a stick blender in there and you whip it all up, and now you've got your pasta sauce.
Oh, yeah.
I bake my bread in there. When we have our sweet corn
Chicken
season,
broth.
I put 20 ears of corn in there at a time and just roast the corn in the turkey roaster.
Wow.
When we're having family over and there's going to be a bunch of people over, I take a full 10-pound bag of russet potatoes. I will rinse them off real good, salt them up, and put them in tin foil. And they roast up so nicely in that turkey roaster with crisp skins when you take the foil off. My gosh, there's so many things you can do with a roasting turkey oven like this. So what I think it's important, the one that I picked out in my wish list is one, it's one that has a self-basting lid. So that means that as you're cooking something in there, say like a turkey, and you have the moisture going up into the lid, it's a dome where it comes right back down on top of your turkey. So it's basting it for you, so you don't have to worry about that. The main important thing is when you pick out a turkey roasting oven like this is that it has the inner pan that you can pull out and wash. So if you've ever had an old style crock pot where you had to take the whole crock pot over to the sink with the cord and not get it wet, and it's so hard to clean it, same thing with the turkey roasters. When they came out with the new crock pots where you could just take out the inner shell of the crock pot and go wash it, that was so great. It's the same with these. This has an inner shell, the pan that you can just take out, then take it to your sink, clean it out, and put it back. I am not like my aunt. My aunt had it kept in the corner, put away. She only brought it out once a year. I have mine on the counter. I use it all the time. And I think it is really an important thing for anybody, whether you're starting out in a new tiny home, like I said, or on raw land and building your home, you're going to build a cabin. If you're on, just your regular homesteading, whether you're suburban, urban, doesn't matter. I really think it's important for somebody to have a really good turkey roasting oven like the one that's on my wish list.
That's
Jumping
awesome.
down.
That's great.
Miss
Okay.
Ann, what's up next for you?
Well, when I think about a homestead, again, I'm going to switch into being prepared a little bit in case there's a hurricane or a storm or something goes on. Can you tell my electricity goes off fairly often here? I mean, somehow it just does. But I found a lantern it says 3,000 large capacity hand crank solar camping lantern. And it's done by Mesquool Store, Mesquool Store. It lasts. The thing that I liked about this the most is, for one thing, it can compact when you store it. It can fold down on top of itself, or when you pull it up, that's when the light comes up. Now, it has a solar panel on the top, but it also has a hand crank, because I have found, unfortunately, that a lot of these solar lanterns or flashlights or chargers don't hold a charge as long as I would like for them to. But the hand cranks to back that up, or if it's at night, or if there is a storm, then you still have the hand crank to crank it up. This is saying that charge and the hand crank, it will last between 23 and 26 hours per charge. And I think that's pretty awesome. So that's something that I have picked out this time, is a lantern. I like to be able to see what I'm doing and where I'm going.
Now, I cannot see what lantern you're talking about, Miss Ann, but I'm picturing it in my mind. And for our listeners, I think they can relate to what I'm going to say. There used to be a commercial of one of those lanterns. They're like, it's indestructible. The guy would throw it in the back of his truck and run over it. And, he would pull the top part of the lantern and the light would come on, and you can adjust the amount of light depending on how far you pull that top up.
Yes.
And they're pretty indestructible. So I think so our listeners, because that was what was popping into my mind when you were speaking, Miss Ann, was that commercial of that guy with that light. Yeah, that's exactly it. We have two of them in our blackout kit.
Awesome.
And they're a great thing to have. So that is a great addition to your wish list, Miss Ann, for anybody who wants to be worried about, or not worried, but prepared for a blackout or a loss of power. It's a wonderful thing to have. Good choice.
It also has a USB charger in there. Everything's got to have a USB charger these days to be able to charge our phones.
Right.
So that's mine. And Cayce, what do you have coming up on your list?
Well, it's so funny. Every time we listen to either Ann or Alicia talk about their thing, you can tell, y'all can't listening, but me and Monica go straight down to either writing or adding it to a list that we want. Because I'm listening and to talk about this lantern, I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of those. Oh yeah, I really need that. Oh, okay. Put 4 of those in my cart. And that's one thing that you can trust, listeners, that if we're talking about something on there, it's something that we would put our name behind. And I know a lot of people that watch us or listen to us here on the podcast, you trust our opinions. And we want to just, guarantee you that it's not just something that we're trying to make a commission off of. It's truly stuff that we would use here on this podcast. And it definitely shows when you see me and Monica's head bobbing up and down. It's because we're making our Christmas lists for Santa. But going back to our lists, and one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I guess I'll be the person to bring it up, because it's going to be on all 4 of our wish lists. For listeners, if you're listening, this next one is going to be on all 4 of ours. So pick your favorite host, click on their list to get this, and that is the Nesco electric pressure canner. Are you enjoying our hay bale topics? To learn more, click our Linktree link to get all our product recommendations along with discount codes and more. And let me start off by saying, I was late to the party, and I was late. All of last season, Lisa, Alicia, Monica all had it. They were like, Cayce, you should totally get it. Cayce, get it. Cayce, you should totally get it. I was like, meh, okay, I'll think about it. And then when I decided I wanted it, that's when everybody wanted it. And it was like, I think I couldn't find it for like less than $700. And I was like, I'm not paying $700 for, I'll just use my standard All-American. And then it dropped down. And y'all, it's even cheaper. Me and Andale were looking at it before we started shooting. And it's what, like $117 right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, this thing changes your life. Two things of how to change your life. One, we always joke that Monica is the leftover queen of the hosting panel. She talks about how if she makes extra taco meat or extra chili like Alicia did for her and Papa Jim this past week, that you can then put it into your quart jar, use your canning lids, which I'm sure somebody will talk about that, so I won't name a name yet. Put it in your pressure canner, and it's a set it and forget it. I mean, there is one thing when it goes from the E0, you do have to seal it up, but it's simple. It's nothing like your standard stovetop pressure canner where you're panicking the whole time because it's dropping below 10 or it's almost above 15. This is wonderful. It's a great price. Again, we can't see because we pre-record all of our podcasts what price it's going to be today on Cyber Monday. So definitely click our QR code if you're hearing this or listening to it on any of the ones that has the QR code. Go check out to see what Amazon has it for a deal, because appliances like the little kitchen gadgets are usually always on sale Black Friday through Cyber Monday. I'm just saying. Does anybody else want to add any more magic to the Nesco pressure canner before we move on?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's something that you don't have to babysit. Okay. You turn it on and it makes its own pressure. When it gets up to pressure, it has a dummy beep that says, beep, beep, turn my knob so I can finish for you. And you, and you do turn it and then you can walk away. I mean, I wouldn't suggest leaving the house, but you can walk away. The thing that I find a huge advantage for is if I'm going to do a huge batch of something, I'll probably get out my other canner, the regular older canner, to be able to do double deckers or whatever. But I don't have that much usually at a time. And what I love is when I'm doing the leftovers, you can can one jar if you want to. And it's just amazing. So really, y'all need to give that thing a try, whether you get it on any of our list or not. You really should. It changes your life.
But you should get it on one of our lists.
But you definitely should. No, that was one of the things I was talking about this weekend. I was at an event talking to some people, and one of the biggest things is not only can you just can one jar of your leftovers, but if you are out in your garden and you have a smaller garden where you're not bringing in dozens and dozens and bags and bushels of green beans or, whatever you're bringing in, if you're not ready to do, like right now, it's not December for right now, but it's not right now in my garden. I'm getting handfuls of jalapenos, enough that maybe I could do 2 pint jars, but I certainly can't do an entire pressure canner full of my stove. Right. And this is so handy. I can do 2 jars of pickled jalapenos fresh right off the vine if I wanted to. Also, this is a lot easier for people that have strength issues, because to pick up and move around a bulky pressure canner, even a water bath canner can get heavy sometimes with all that water constantly moving it around.
For guys, it's a heavy piece of machinery.
But my pressure canner, my electric pressure canner, I tell my 7-year-old, hey, go grab the pressure canner because it's sitting off on the side of the kitchen. Go grab the pressure canner. Let's put it on the counter. We're going to go ahead and mom's going to, I'm going to put some jars away tonight after I finish making dinner. And the 7-year-old can go and pick it up and put it on the counter. Right. And so if my petite 7-year, because he's a small 7, he's not even like a big dude. He's a small 7-year-old. And if he can grab that canner and put it on the counter without any trouble, then you know it's not going to be a big deal. If you're having grip issues, strength issues, maybe you can't lift certain things. It is not heavy. It is very manageable. And it is so simple. It really takes the fear out of pressure canning. And I will say that 100% because I had a fear. I have a big one. I have a regular one, countertop, stovetop, whatever you call it, stovetop. But there was so much with it. I've used it. Didn't love using it. Anxiety ridden the entire time. But let me just tell you, it really takes the fear and the hassle out of pressure canning. So I'm a huge advocate, and I tell everybody I meet.
Yeah, I can't lift that stuff anymore. I have to have Worth in the house. And so having this electric pressure canner is just a godsend for us. It's awesome.
It is. And you know, for our listeners who maybe they've never seen it before and they picture in their mind, I don't know why I keep coming back to these visuals, but you know, they picture those big all-American, big, huge canners on their grandma's stove, and they're huge. And I think all of us have those, and we've used those in the past, like we said. This is the size of one of the larger Instant Pots. It's not huge.
Right.
And it is very manageable. And, you know, I was going to bring up the point like Miss Ann said, you don't have to babysit it, which is very true. When you take Miss Ann's comment and then you marry it up with Monica's comment of, you know, you don't have to babysit and it takes out the fear and the anxiety, that is 100% truth. You just have to watch for, like what Cayce said, that E10 to countdown. You flip the switch and you walk away. You don't have to watch the pressure numbers. You don't have to watch the jiggler. You don't have to keep time of a clock. You don't have to do all those things that those large pressure canners, the manual ones, require you to do. And the great thing about it is I've done this in the past. I'll wait for that E10 to hit. I'll flip the switch. And I go to bed because when it's all done, it turns itself off.
Yes.
And then it releases its own pressure. And so when you wake up in the morning, the pressure's already been released. You lift the lid. You get your little crabby jar grabber. Your grabby jar grabber. And you take your lids out and put them out on your canning mat. And you're ready for another batch.
There you go.
It is so simple. And it makes pressure canning enjoyable. I enjoyed it before because it was a learning process for me. I'll be quite honest with you. After my first season of pressure canning with a large 26 quart one that I have, I didn't do it again because it was too much work for me. But I've used this one several times and I love it. So that is a great one to share.
And I will say before we pitch it over to Monica for Monica's next one is another thing to add with when you're getting that Nesco pressure canner is head over to Country Mama's Etsy store. And she sent me a canning mat that it was knitted, right? Correct? Or
It's
crocheted? Crocheted. I always get those mixed up. And you can definitely tell that I use mine all the time because there's barbecue stains and chili stains and salsa stains, but it is washable. So go over there and get you one of those or get you the pattern.
It's a pattern.
And watch one of her videos so that you have your mat to go along with your Nesco pressure canner so that when you wake up in the morning to take your stuff out of the Nesco pressure canner, you have a beautiful, fun, homemade mat to put it on. So, all right, Monica, over to you. We've done the Nesco. We have paid their bills now for the next couple of months on how we talked about it.
I will say that Nesco / Carey, same product. It's just the name. It's like a name change thing. It's totally the same though. Right. Okay, so next on my list, which is something that I used to make all the time, I just haven't had a chance to really make it yet with my family recently, would be, I would say, all of the kombucha supplies. I make kombucha all the time. I used to more than anything. I haven't made it probably about a year now, but I love to make that fermented drink kombucha. So if you've never heard of it, take a look online, look and see what it is. But a kombucha is a fizzy drink, not the soda stream, but a fizzy drink, another fizzy drink. It's great for your gut health and, depending on how you're doing it. And it's not hard to make. You just need a SCOBY, which a SCOBY is an acronym for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Is that what it is? Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So anyway, It's the SCOBY.
Good for
And
you.
You better go, girl, because I would have lost it.
I didn't know
the
that.
SCOBY is great. It's SCOBY, and it's like Scooby, but not SCOBY. Less one O. And anyway, so this is a symbiotic culture. So basically, what's happening is it's a big colony of yeast that is just basically eating up them sugar bubbles, and the yeast it's eating up all that sugar, and it's now creating this big mother, this SCOBY, and it forms bubbles inside of your teas. And you can add fruit to it, and it makes fizzy drinks, and it is super good for your gut health. So if you're trying to get away from sodas, and you're trying to get away from sugar things, and if you're trying to get away from that stuff, not to say it's bad, I'm not saying soda's bad. I'm just saying that if you're trying to heal your gut and you are trying to make that transition, this is a transition that's an option for you as a family. Look up kombucha, look up how to make it, find someone that has a baby SCOBY, because this is basically like, if you've ever seen apple cider vinegar, you see that little mother floating around in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's just like a SCOBY, except a SCOBY kind of looks flat and kind of looks grody, but it's not. It's really amazing, and it can be absolutely delicious. Eric loves ginger kombucha. And so in my wish list, I've got a big 2-gallon, because we make a big batch of it. A normal family wouldn't need a 2-gallon size. So you could do a 1 gallon, but you basically brew up a big batch of black tea, or you can do some green tea and black tea mix. And then after you ferment one time, you get some little bottles, and I have the kitchen bottles in there, the low glass bottles. You pour your tea in there, you add a little bit of sugar, because that kombucha is going to eat up all that sugar, and it's going to make bubbles. And you can add some ginger. You can add some fresh blueberries. You can add all kinds of stuff to make great flavors and have some amazing, amazing bubbly carbonated beverages. So figure it out. Try it out. You will not regret it. The stuff in the store doesn't taste the same. So if you like the stuff in the store, great job. If you don't, make your own, give it a chance, because you never know. Because we tried the stuff in the store, and I was not a happy fan of that. Mm-hmm. But I will say that my kids love blueberry kombucha when I make it here. So,
well, if they like it from the store, they're going to love it from home.
Maybe. You never know.
I really think I must have some kind of aversion to any type of food that starts with the letter K. I have never tried kombucha. I don't want to. It does not sound appealing to me. I have never had kimchi, because it does not sound appealing to me.
But you've had egg rolls.
Oh, I've had egg rolls, let me tell you. But I don't like kale. It must be a K thing for me.
Well, we don't call it kombucha around here. We call it booch. So there you go. See, at our house, you might like it at our house because it starts with a B. At our house, it's called the booch.
Who wants to have the booch?
I love B things.
Yeah, booch.
Yeah, how do you not like kale? Like a good kale chip with some Parmesan cheese, baked crispy. No?
Don't ruin it.
Sorry. Don't ruin it.
I like a kale salad, but I'm not interested in the crunchy kale like that.
No,
I don't want crunchy kale. I'll put it in soup, but I mean, there's just something about the kombucha and the kimchi and all these weird things that, even though it'd be good for my gut, maybe it's the fermenting thing. I don't know, but that is a wonderful thing. And we're all kind of like on this little canning round robin now, and I'm going to go to my next one because it kind of applies to what everybody's been talking about. Monica was talking about dropping off to a neighbor or friend, or if you're gifting, just a big old flat of your canning jars. And we've been talking about the Nesco pressure canner. One thing that's on my canning or on my wish list here is something that I wish I would have started with. When you get into canning and you run into the store, and it's like you have to kind of piecemeal everything together for your little kit. You get a little Mr. Sticky, you get a little grabby jar thing, you get this, you get that. But what I have in my list here is I have a set of canning essentials. And one of the things that I really, really like about this one and why I chose this one is because it has the funnels that you use to put your food into your jars, and they're the stainless steel ones. I've been canning now for all these years, and I still have my little green plastic little funnel, which works just fine. But in my heart of hearts, every time I grab it, I tell myself, oh, I wish I had a stainless steel canning funnel for when I do my stuff. I like it that they just sit in there really nice. They have some that not only go in, but they kind of fit over so there's no spills. So I really like this canning set. So it's the Canning Essentials set of 5. And it includes the 12-inch stainless steel canning rack because you can never have too many racks. It's nice to have an extra rack. A canning jar lifter, so that's the little lifty grabby thing. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands from my hosts, my co-hosts, and then we'll give you the count. How many of you, when you first canned, used your Mr. Grabby thing upside down? No? I'm the only one that grabbed it upside down and struggled for the first time?
Well, usually the colors indicate, my friend. Usually the colors indicate,
One tends and one doesn't. So.
Yeah.
I definitely thought the plastic would be what you would use to grip.
Wrap. Yeah.
The gripple.
I thought it gripped the jars. So I did it upside down my very first time. But moving on, since I'm the only weirdo in the group.
But now you're a big name celebrity that talks about canning, so it's okay.
Actually, apparently it's a thing though, Alicia, that not only do, because I just saw an Instagram reel just last week, and it was a person saying, just in case you didn't know, this is the way to use it. And I was like,
right?
What?
See?
Yep.
But I mean, I already knew that, but
I didn't.
You were not alone, because there are definitely other people, at least one other person.
I mean,
you were not alone.
Oh my goodness, he's breaking out with the Michael Jackson. You know, when you look at it, and they look like a pair of forceps. I mean, you would think you would grab the protected rubberized ends for your hands and then use the little rolly parts to grab your jar, but it's not. It's the other way around. Who knew? But it comes with the funnels and a sponge cleaning brush, which I don't know what you'd use that for, but it's got all these little neat things. And I like it because it's, by the time you put it all together, it's comparable to what I spent getting all of the little plasticky, disposable things that are going to break, things that aren't going to clean as easily. It would just be nice to have a whole nice kit. So if you have a family member, like I said, that's getting married, or that they're buying a new home, or somebody that even says to you, I'd like to try canning, go get them a case of the canning jars and then get them a really nice starter set like this one. So it's in my shop. It's in my Amazon store. You'll be able to see all the little different things. I just really think it's nice to have stainless steel. If you're going to do it right, says the person who bought everything plastic. I will say I do like my little Mr. Sticky. Mr. Sticky is the magnet little jar lid lifter. And we call him Mr. Sticky on this podcast. We've done that for quite some time. I don't mind him. He's plastic, but I don't see that in this list. So make sure you get yourself a little Mr. Sticky. All right. So that's the end of, not the end of my list, but that's for this one. Miss Ann, what do you have next?
Well, it's funny because you sort of lead into several of the things that I pick on here, which in a roundabout way, and it deals with fermenting actually. And this is from CUTEC Fermentation Crock Jar. It's a big crock jar that you can use for fermenting. It comes with its own weight. It's a stone weight that goes on. I like to make my own vinegar. Homemade vinegar is amazing. Now, I've made it for several years, but I'm not a pro at it, apparently, because one year it's delicious. The next year is really not. I'm not doing everything right because I don't have the proper equipment. I'm doing what I can do. And this is the proper equipment to be able to make your own vinegar. It's a 0.5 gallon, but it will hold 2 liters, or you can get a larger one, where this is actually the one that I wanted, was the 1.3 gallon stoneware pot for fermenting. And you can use it for pickling, you can use it for pickling vegetables, and you can use it for kombucha. But I would mainly want it to make my own vinegar. You can use vinegar for so many things in your cooking, in your spices, and you can also clean with it, and it helps with your gut. So that's my next pick.
And they're great for salad dressings too, like making your own vinegar and adding it to some fresh salad dressings over the summer. It has just this different taste. Now, I use mine sometimes to put in the water for the chickens. Because apple
Okay.
cider vinegar is really good for like a
Yes.
dewormer kind of thing.
Mhm.
They do recommend that you use like the store-bought
kind.
ones so that you
Yeah.
know exactly what I guess it'd be the acidity level or whatever it is
Yeah, it
that's in
does
there.
have the mother in it, yeah.
But ours, if you make it homemade, we'll have the mother. It's so cool to touch it. I love to pull it out of the jar and be like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, slimy
It is.
alien." It's gross, but
It
no,
is
that's a good one.
gross.
That's a good one, and because homemade vinegars, y'all,
It's
delicious.
good. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Good,
And you
good,
can
and good
flavor
for
them
you.
from there. Yes, good and good for you.
Mhm.
Good to you.
I'm gonna stick
And
Casey, what do
again.
you have next?
Well, I'm going on sticking in the kitchen. I think I'm still, sticking canning kind of stuff, but I'm going to put in there stuff that you put in those cans or those jars. And I love to get, and I always put it on my Christmas list, and my family thinks I am the weirdest person on the planet. And they have told
they
me
do that
this.
for me anyway.
Is I want freeze dried Augustin Farm number 10 cans. I am like a little kid at a candy shop when I open up and I see there's a number 10 can of scalloped potatoes, freeze dried, because I think in my head all of the different meals in a jar that I can do and how much food I will put away. And really, I tell them, listen, Brother Chris, Sis Tara, and y'all can't see it, but I'm shaking my neck as I'm saying it. Um, when I get those for Christmas, I then turn them into meals in a jar that feed my whole family. So really, it's the Christmas gift that keeps on giving, baby. And they're usually great prices. We are Augustin Farm affiliates, so there's always a Hay Bale code in our link tree to go to Augustin Farm, but they're on Amazon too, so you can get it in your 2-day shipping, which who doesn't love that? So I'm going to say Augustin Farms, and I'm going to say the 3 that are a must-have. And I'm looking at Alicia to see if she agrees or if she doesn't agree with these 3 choices. 1, I must have my chocolate milk powder. I am a weird 36-year-old man that likes chocolate milk sometimes in the morning. And it is so easy. It's so simple. So that's one. It's really good for kids, though, too. So if you're listening, kids, grandkids, taking a half gallon of homemade chocolate milk to church for a little buffet. So, yes, I have that in there. It makes a lot. I think it's 65 servings that it makes of the chocolate milk powder. 2, scallop potatoes. A must. The scallop potatoes on there. I just see Monica's betting on my what I'm going to say. Scallop potatoes 1, and 2, Monica wins, is the cheese powder.
Oh my.
I do like the butter too. Me and Monica have talked about the butter, but you can do so much with that cheese powder. There is a recipe on there, y'all, to make cheese crackers. You put it with the flour and the cheese powder, and it's like a cheesy cracker. It's delicious. So yes, right? A
Okay.
homemade cheese cracker. So I'm going to say Augustin
Mhm.
Farm, and now I'm going to pass it over to the winner of the bet of what will Cayce say, and that is Monica Bland.
Yeah, so I got 2 out of the 3. I guessed either butter or milk. Like I knew he was going to do milk. And then I was like, it's got to be butter, milk, or maybe the cheese. The meat. And then I was like, no, not the meat. It's going to be the cheese. So I was thinking cheese, milk for sure. And I thought you were going to go for the butter powder, but you got me on the potatoes because I knew it had to do with those potatoes. I knew it had to go with the funeral potato recipe. I knew somehow it was going to be in there because potatoes are life. Okay. So one of my things that I'm going to say is one of the best gifts for any homesteader, whether you're starting out or whether you're experienced, it's going to be a twofold gift. And it's going to be on my wish list for sure. At least part of it is. If you are a brand new homesteader and you don't know what to grow and you're not growing your own meat, That's completely fine. You definitely should be growing some vegetables or herbs. And so my first thing that's going to be on the list, it's going to be, and it's not really going to be in my Amazon. You can find seeds on Amazon. You can even find the packaged of seeds. And I actually have a package of seeds. So I will put this in my list. One of the ones that I have purchased, it was like a emergency supply seed packet. And I have bought them and they work okay. They're great in that sense of what you need to have, right? I personally buy from other places. I buy from other people. And if you want to come figure out who I buy from, you can come ask me privately if you would like. But I buy from a bunch of different places. We do Baker Creek. I've done MI Gardner, things like that. But I do because Baker Creek seeds, they've been great. And everything I've had from them has come out really wonderful. I also like to reach out to friends who are growing things and they always have extra seeds. So it's always nice to grab from other people. But the one thing that is super important when you have seeds is to have proper seed storage. And one of the things I have on my wish list would be those photo containers. I know it sounds really silly when you say photo containers for your seeds, but I actually have 2 of these. And this is one of the things that didn't really
Are you
want
in my mind, Monica? Are you in my mind right now?
I had
Listen
one
to
too.
me. I have 2 of these boxes and I've already decided I'm going to have to get a third because I really like the way they organize them. They are the extra large 4x6. I buy the multicolor because they're pretty and I love to see that beautiful rainbow of beautiful bright colors, but you can organize your seeds and it keeps them safe. And now normally I'm like one of those people that are so haphazard. I'll be like, hey, I'm just going to leave it in my greenhouse. Well, I've seen what happens in my greenhouse. Texas heat destroys everything and anything in your greenhouse. You cannot leave it in there. So I literally have all of my seeds sitting in my dining room underneath of my bench where my people sit because I want to keep it out in front of me so that when I forget, when I like run to my garden and I'm like, oh shoot, I needed seeds, I can come running back in, grab my little containers and run out there. I can flip it open, dig through what I need in my garden bin and my seed categorizations or whatever, and I can put it in there and I can go. Plus, I can throw a sheet of paper or 2 in there and I can just lay it flat on the top and make some quick notes that I can put in my garden journal later. So it's super handy. It is an amazing gift. And it's a great gift if you are trying to find something for that beginner homesteader or even the experienced homesteader, because seeds are always welcomed by anyone that's trying to raise their own food or help their family raise food. And if you are not growing your own food, I say now is the time. Now is the time. Do it in your house, do it outside the house, do it somewhere. But now is the time. It is now to do this and get yourself something pretty to put all your seeds in. It's worth it. So
Wouldn't it be wonderful to get one of those little boxes, some packets of seeds,
yep.
and a pair of gardening gloves, and maybe just one of the little trowels. And if somebody moves into your neighborhood that's new, that's how you welcome them. That's your welcome wagon little gift. Is this little seed cart starter kit? Wouldn't that be a nice little thing to have? I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just super important.
Idea.
I feel such a sense of urgency when it comes to growing your own food. And if you're not able to grow it, that's fine. But you got to grow something. Even if it's just an herb in a little pot, just practice growing something besides your gut at the holidays. Practice growing something else, something that's alive besides the rumble.
Picking on me.
Besides the rumble in your tummy, please. We're all talking about eating pants a little bit ago too. But I'm gonna be real for real. It's now is the time. If you're hearing me, stop putting it off. Grow something.
Yes.
And if that means you just go to the local Tractor Supply or you go to the Home Depot or you go somewhere and you buy a packet of seeds and practice, do it. So off my soapbox.
Yeah.
Seeds.
Off of her seed soapbox. And it's a wonderful thing to end with. You know, when we put all of our lists together for this episode today, I think a lot of us were scrambling like, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to come up with enough stuff. And you know what? We barely scratched the surface. Make sure you come back, look at all of our lists because they're different. We have different things that we feel are important. And that is what's really great is we all have these different ideas. So check those out. And so we want to thank you. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this show today. And we want to thank you for being here with us. We want to remind you that when this podcast drops the very next day, we're going to have our radio show and we're going to be discussing some of the things that we touched on here for this episode today. And I'd like to thank all of our co-hosts here, for putting their list together. And Cayce, he does such a wonderful job of putting our show together for us. So kudos to him. And, kudos to Kyle Kelly. He is our music producer. He does our intro and our outro, and we really thank him for taking care of all of that for him. Make sure you head on over to all of our social media pages and check, because we're going to go live on Amazon Live for Cyber Monday, and we'll highlight some of these things and use our link. It'll be below for getting all of the great deals that we have. So again, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week here on Round the Hay Bale, and also again on our radio show. Check out our channels too. We're all out here for you, and we love to see you grow as you work your homesteads. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Until we see you again next time here on Round the Hay Bale, make sure you please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a blessed holiday season, and we'll see you next time.
Join your hosts back here next week on Round the Hay Bale.